Good day, all. This is Charles with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, ELLC, America's #1 freight broker and dispatcher training. Today we are continuing in our how-to video series. We are on module 4, which is invoicing carriers. Last video, I believe we spoke about PayPal. This one will be Square. So if you have a Square business account, you can go to Square, Square Up or Square.com, Square login, however you have your Square account set up. And let's log into Square, sign in with our credentials. And you should have your own Square business account, just like with PayPal. Your PayPal business account more than likely will be synced or linked to your business bank account, right? Same thing with Square. It'll be linked to your business bank account. So when you first log into Square, you will come across a dashboard, okay? The dashboard is over to the left. If you notice, there's plenty of features and options here. The one we want to select is invoices. So if you're using Square, you have invoices, right? So now you want to send an invoice over here in the top right. We have invoices, recurring invoices, estimate reports, and settings. Okay, invoice settings, things of that nature. So you're not creating a recurring, like a monthly payment invoice. You're just creating, in this example, we're just doing one-time invoice for your carriers that you just booked the load for. They delivered the load, and now you are set to be paid for that service. Okay, so under invoicing, the regular invoicing, you want to send an invoice, okay? Now you're in the new invoice page, right? You can preview it, you can save it as a draft, and then of course you want to send it once you're complete. So who's the customer? Put in their name, ABC Trucking, right? We just created someone, right? The title, invoice title is optional. Call it whatever. Load 1, 2, 3, that'll be the title. That can identify the specific load that you booked for them, right? The invoice number, this is an automatically generated invoice number. It comes up every time you create a new one, it'll have another generated invoice ID, okay? Message, load from Los Angeles. We can do the same theme like we did in PayPal, just to get as descriptive as possible. So when the carrier receives it, they'll be able to identify, because this carrier may have multiple dispatchers. So they want to identify the load that they did, remember it, so they can pay the correct person. That could be a possibility. Or you can just simply want to be as descriptive in your invoicing as possible. Okay, the date of the service, say none, or you can click the none and then select the date. Today is the 16th. We'll just select this for example. Okay, frequency, how often do, this is a one-time invoice, or is it something that's recurring, right? Like a monthly subscription or something like that. This example, it'll be one time. When do you want to send it? You want to send it immediately, due today, or do you want to do something different? You hit immediately, or in 7 days, in 14 days, in 30 days, end of the month. So the same concept with PayPal, the frequency concept in PayPal. Is it a one-time thing, or is it another time? So if you click one time, it'll be recurring, you know, so ours is immediately due today, or immediately due upon receipt, 7 days. So, okay. Now you get into the details of the invoice, or what's called the line items, right? You can call it, we'll just do one carrier invoice, right? Or you can call it something else. You can say load number 1, 2, 3, okay? And you know, the load is from Los Angeles to Dallas. You can even put that in there, copy that to get as descriptive again as possible, okay? So you can customize it. It's one load. remember this was a $3,000 load as the previous PayPal example. So we'll go with that same thing. $3,000 load that you booked. The gross payment of the load was $3,000 to the carrier. You get paid your 10% in this example of the gross rate of the load, right? So 10% of 3,000 is 300. So that's what you would put your price, 300. And now everything changes to 300. If you want to add any discounts, you can. Tax, you want to put tax, you can. Service charge, things of that nature. But right there, you can either add a payment schedule. So someone wants to do payments. So, okay. And then your payment options for the carrier or for whoever you're sending the invoice to. Right. So we got line items, we got the invoice details, which is the information about the invoice. We have the line items, the exact invoice that you're going to get paid, a descriptive or a description of it, right? And then the options. You want to payment method, add a card, credit or debit card, ACH, gift card, allow tip, allow the customer to save their card on file. So you click add the card, and then you can put, or they can put their card information. Let's cancel that. And then communications. How do you want to send the invoice, right? We're doing an email. We're going to send it to the carrier's email so they can receive it, and then click the, in this case, the square button to open up to pay the invoice, and now go ahead and do that. And the client's email or your customer's email is right there, the carriers. You can add an additional people. You can send a reminder after so many days. Send your customer reminders for this payment. You can add a reminder, and then the frequency of that after a day before the due date, on the due date, a day after the due date, however you want to do that, right? And then we'll go ahead and get out of that. More options. If you're physically shipping something, right? Request shipping address, you don't really need it. You're sending it via the electronically, right? So you can attach contracts or add other attachments, attach a square contract. Don't necessarily need that. You're just between you and the carrier, you're just dispatching, charging for your service. Attachments, you can add, here's where you can add your the rate confirmation as proof that it was you that booked the load. If you have a copy of the POD or the BOL, signed BOL, do that. Some dispatchers even, which I don't know why, but I guess it can kind of prove it. You put a copy of the dispatcher agreement in there, but at least a copy of the rate confirmation. Because if I was a carrier receiving a copy of the rate confirmation, someone saying that I owe them money, I'm going to ask, well, how did you get the rate confirmation? Apparently, I must have sent it to you after, we booked that load with the broker. So this is square. And then we have custom fields. You can add custom fields. This is a new feature. We're not going to go into that. Just going to give you the basics of a new invoice. Right, let's go back up to the top as a review. Your invoice details contains the email of the customer, your carrier that you're dispatching for, a title for the invoice, something that they can recognize and immediately say, yeah, that was what I did, right? Matter of fact, we can copy this and make it the title. So it'll be easier for them to distinguish, right? Because again, you may have carriers who have multiple dispatchers, right? So you want to make your invoice that you send to the carrier as descriptive as possible so that they can recognize that it was you who did that for them. And it is you that is due the payment, right? The date of the service, the date, now this can be the date of the invoice you sent them or the date that you, that they provided the service to deliver to the receiver. Frequency, when do you want payment? I'm sorry, how often should the invoice be sent out? This is a one-time load that you book for them. If it was a dedicated lane, right, you may do recurring because they're going to always be doing it. So you're going to always be sending invoices, right? So an example of one time is just a one-time load. An example of recurring would be a dedicated lane, right? Something that's always occurring, something that's dedicated, consistent, right? Send it immediately, due today, or due upon receipt, right? And that's all under invoice details. Line items, you get into a little bit more granular, descriptive information about the load that you booked for them, the amount that's due to you, whether or not you include tax with that, depending on the requirements of your state for running a business. Okay, that's line items. Next is the options of how the carrier is going to pay you. Okay, credit card, you can add a card, payment methods on file. You can do ACH, bank transfer, gift cards, allow for tip, and you can allow the customer to save their cards on file. Because if you're going to be dealing with them periodically, especially if they're going to be running dedicated lanes, this feature may be an option. Okay. And then next would be communication. How will the carrier who's due to pay you receive the invoice to start that process? Well, email. You can do text message, you can manually do it. But email is the conventional way, the common way, okay? And then we have more options here. These are kind of self-explanatory. The one that we use commonly is the attachments. You want to attach any supporting documents, verifying it was you that booked that load for the carrier, okay? And this is invoicing in Square. You can preview it, right? Preview what it looks like, okay? To get an idea. Your company information, your logo will be up here. You can update your logo and your accounts and settings, okay? And take a look at what it looks like, okay? Let's go back to the buyer page. Let's X out of that. Now we're back in here. And then once you've done, you can save this as a draft because you may need to use it as a template to send it to other carriers and just fill in, just change the things that you need to change. And then you can simply hit send when you are ready and complete with the invoice that's ready to send to your customer so that you can get paid. Hit send. And the invoice was created and it's sent out, right? And that's it for Square, right? So we can kind of log out, sign out, and you're done for Square, guys. So PayPal and Square are the two common invoicing softwares that you can use to send invoices to kids. There are other invoicing software, but these are the commonly ones. Remember, when any invoicing software, you want to have it, if you are a business owner, right, you're running a dispatching business legitimately, you want the invoicing software to have a connection to your business bank account, checking or savings, namely checking, so that when the carrier pays the invoice, it routes and goes right to the proper account for tax purposes. So that's it for module 4 video series. Next, we'll probably go into some supplemental videos, Zoom, tools and resources, or the forms and documents. Get started with that, okay? Also, connect, if you haven't, connect with us socially. If you are an ongoing member, obviously you connect through our new private Facebook group. And of course, if you have not subscribed to our Dispatcher 101 YouTube channel, by all means, do so as well. All right, till next time, thank you.